Purple Daily is daily Vikings entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. I will ride with this group. Seriously, man. Please. And away we go.
Now, when it comes to this show, we are very bad at having guests on. We got our Thursdays, we got our Alex Boone film breakdowns. We do the old Star Tribune beat writer mashup with Judd and Chip for Purple Access. But we do hear you guys, the audience. You guys yell at us once in a while and say, why don't you have so-and-so on? Why don't you have Vikings fans who are noteworthy or more guests on? So today we bring you co-founder of Defector, noted author, a one-time champion on the Food Network's Chopped.
That's right.
Little $10,000 grand prize there. Yeah. And longtime tortured Vikings fan. You may recognize his Why Your Team Sucks series across the internet. You can find it on Defector every September. Drew Magary joining Purple Daily for the first time.
I'm so excited to be here. And I listen to the podcast, and I always make sure that I listen to the intro so that I can mouth the intro along with the voiceover guy. So, and like just randomly around the house all day, I'll be like, seriously, man. Yeah. And like, nobody knows what I'm talking about, but that's okay. Cause my wife and kids already know I'm weird. So it doesn't matter.
Are you going to mouth the Quick Trip ad that Judd's about to do right now too?
No, but every time he talks about Quick Trip, cause I live in Maryland and haven't been back. Well, I went back to Minnesota to watch us lose to the Giants in the playoffs in 2022, but there was no Quick Trip right next to the stadium. So every time Judd's talking about Quick Trip, I'm like, what is this strange, exotic convenience store that sells maybe they might have zero bars. It could be so unusual.
Well, allow Judd to take you on a tour in your mind right now of
Quick Trip.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly right. Look at this special.
Whoa, visuals.
Yeah, this is not some imaginary land. It's a real land. And here's the most important part, Drew, at Quick Trip. Do you know what? You are going to get every type of food that you could possibly want, appetizers, meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, anything that you could possibly desire. And here's the best part. It's got everything a grocery store does, but it's not a grocery store. So you know what? You can just be in and out quickly. I'm going to tell you right now, too, the service, absolutely fantastic. Everything about it is great, including the fact that you could put the app on your phone, Drew, and you never have to go inside. So if you want to avoid people, you can avoid people. They'll bring it out to you. What more could you want?
Awful. People are awful. I would be very excited to get my Hot Pocket and not have to encounter a person, because then they'd watch me buy a Hot Pocket. I don't want that. That's terrible.
Now they're judging you. They're thinking that guy's going to have a singed roof of his mouth in about 15 minutes.
Yeah. They're like, oh, look at that fat ass buying a Hot Pocket. I'm buying Sahel snacks like a fancy pants. Get out of here.
2 apples for me, please.
Yeah. Right. Have you ever bought fruit at a convenience store?
Oh, yeah.
Like they have like the sad basket of like bananas. And you're like, I guess it's like 50 cents. I guess I could be healthy. And then you're like, well, then there's also a Snickers almond Brazil nut. Could do that.
And if I have both, maybe like it kind of cancels out because I did buy the fruit.
1,000%. That's protein.
100%. Yeah. Also, a reminder for the audience, we've got our 4th annual Purple Daily Draft Party coming up here, sponsored and presented by Standard Heating and Air Conditioning. ScoreNorth.com/draft, where tickets are available. We're at the Fillmore in Minneapolis for the 2nd year in a row. It's Thursday, April 24th at 7 p.m. And I don't know, we don't know what they're going to do. They might even trade out, but it's going to be a fun celebration of everybody's favorite team to hate and love at the same time. And you can, again, get tickets at ScoreNorth.com/draft. A shout out to Standard Heating and Air. A shout out to Roku, 2 Men in a Junk Truck, Continental Diamond for jumping on board, Element Hotel, Park Dental, Brixworth. We appreciate all of our partners who allow us to do this every single day, like idiots talking about the Vikings. We want to take you, Drew, through a tour of some of our favorite Purple Daily segments and questions here, like all in one episode. And just like put you through the ringer here. Are you ready?
Yeah. Give it to me. Hurt me, baby.
Let's start with, we always ask the Write That Down guests who come on. Okay. How did you get your start? Like this masochistic practice of being a Vikings fan. What was your first Vikings memory? When was the first time they hurt you? How did you essentially become part of this this club?
Okay, so I tell people that I grew up in Minnesota. We grew up sort of all over the place. I was born in Australia, only stayed there for 3 months, so I didn't get the kick-ass accent. And, outside of New York, Chicago, and then Minnesota, like we went to Minnesota. It was like age 8 to like 15. And I tell people that's where I grew up because that's where I went through puberty. Right. And so, and the rest of my family, like my parents left for Connecticut like in 1991 and we never went back. But I kept the Vikings with me the entire time. No one else in my family gives a crap about football, but I care about the Vikings. And so all through the 90s and sort of the pre-Sunday ticket era, or like the era of my life before I had Sunday ticket, I would have to like go to bars and like, go like, and, meekly ask the bartender, like, hey, can you turn TV 16 in the back to like Vikings Lions? And they'd be like, oh, sure. And then like, I'd be the only one there, or like, I'd have to find the one Vikings bar in whatever city I was in. And it would be too full, like 3 hours before kickoff, like as if it were automatically a Steelers bar. So I have kept the Vikings with me the whole time. And I've loved them the entire time. I mean, they're annoying, and I'm at the stage of life now where if they lose, I'm much more irritated than I am like crushed. I don't cry, or I don't like I brood for like an hour, and like if my kids are like, hey dad, I'll be like, what do you want? Like, and they're like, oh my God. So, but otherwise, I have enjoyed sort of having this little piece of Minnesota to take with me. It's why I actually like this podcast, because like I listen to the podcast and I feel like I'm commuting on like 494, but I don't have to be in my car stuck on 494. Right, yeah. It's really nice. Like I get some Minnesota accents. I get the full sort of, I feel very much back at home, which is nice.
Yeah. So what got you? So what was your first Vikings moment, or like what season did you adopt them and decide that you were going to stick with them? Because that's like, I started Tarkington 78, and then he of course retires, and right. They have not replaced him since. But what got you into the Vikings? What was the moment or the season?
So we moved from Chicago to Minneapolis, and I was not quite into football yet. So I just asked my mom, I was like, is there, what teams do they have? They said, oh, well, the baseball team's the Twins. And I liked baseball at the time. So I was like, oh, that's a cool name for it. And she's like, the football team is the Vikings. I was like, oh, that's a really cool name. I might check that out if I get into football. So I got into football. And the first year I got into football was the year they traded for Herschel Walker, which sounds awful, but like I wasn't enough of a Vikings fan at the time to feel one way. It was just like, it was something that got my attention. Like, oh, they got this cool player. Like, let's go, let me go check it out. And then I watched him. I was like, hey, he sucks. But like, I watched the game, and I watched the games, and and also it's like, this was also back again, they're the only game on TV, right? Like they're the only game you can watch. So it was like, if I was going to watch football, I'd watch the Vikings. And my first real memory was the Alfred Anderson game where they're playing the Rams. It's 21. It ends 21-21 because Rich Cartless, the last barefoot kicker I remember, kicked 7 field goals, and then they won in overtime because Mike Merriweather forced a safety, and I think it was the first and maybe last time an overtime game was won on a safety. And then Jerry Burns afterward, because Alfred Anderson was supposed to, was at the goal line. And, same as it ever was, couldn't get in and lost his shoe on the play. And so Jerry Burns is all red ass at the podium. Like, I ain't telling him to lose the fucking shoe. Lost the fucking shoe. Your shoe. Your shoe. And I was like, yeah, he feels the way I feel, because Alfred Anderson sucked. And I was mad that he got the ball. So it all made sense to me.
I was like, when they traded for Herschel Walker, by the way, that was one of my early, like probably 5 years old memories. And I remember as a kid thinking, oh, like, I know who Herschel Walker is, like one of the 5 football players I know.
Yes.
And he's on like video games and stuff.
Yep.
And this is like in the moment, it's like, this is awesome. The Vikings got this like star player. as a kid. I got the little like jersey and whatever.
I've heard of that
but
guy.
when you're a kid, like at no point are you thinking about the draft value charts and all the value they gave up for the Cowboys to build a dynasty off our backs.
Those charts didn't exist. So that the thing is,
Jimmy Johnson like created the first one, didn't he?
Right, but
probably off
he
that
just got the
trade.
job.
How do
But
we
he just got the
quantify how
job.
much we got in return?
But the thing about that trade though is there was not a soul who was a Vikings fan who didn't love it, because first of all, 89 draft picks were important, but nothing like now, right? No. And you just got this guy, Heisman Trophy from Georgia, had been this huge name. So like, yes, 8 years, 10 years, 30 years now after the fact, it's a terrible trade. But the day that trade was made, it led SportsCenter. It was huge. And every Vikings fan is like, oh, my God, they got Herschel Walker. They're going for it. This is going to be great. So, like, the revisionist history about that trade now, ain't no one who buried their head in their hands and said, oh, no, what does this mean for the future? We all said they're going to win a bleeping Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then they didn't, which is kind of rude.
They didn't even come close.
Nah. And like Rick Fenny was the better runner that year.
Rick Fenny, his little fumbling.
Well, he didn't
problem.
fit in. We didn't know that in retrospect, when Mike Lynn made that trade, he didn't consult Jerry Burns, who ran a pure West Coast, and so Herschel's this north-south guy, right? Just a bruising north-south guy, and Burns is like, I don't really have a use for him. He's not a good running back for me.
He's not. He wasn't that good of a running back, period. And and also, like, that's fitting in a pattern of, Rick Spielman signing Kirk Cousins, even though Zimmer was like, I hate this guy. Like, like very much like, it would be nice if you assholes were on the same page for once.
Yeah, Zimmer literally doing the beware the Ides of Kirk speech at the combine like 3 weeks before. We got to be really careful about giving a bunch of money to a quarterback. Non-specifically, I'm just talking in general. All right, let's keep the tour going here through some of our favorite segments here. Give us your hottest Vikings take. We're just going to put you right on the spot.
Oh, okay. You sent me this last night, so I had time to think about it. But this one was actually sort of automatic, which is that Gary Anderson gets too much crap because, like, people always like, oh, wait, Gary Anderson missed that field goal, and my life was never the same. Dude, it wasn't. It was an insurance field goal. They were up a touchdown, and they could have made it a two-score game if Anderson makes the field goal. He misses it, but then play defense, hold. They don't hold at the end of that game, and then Denny takes a knee with like 30 seconds left, like a coward. He has the best offense in the world, doesn't believe in it in the most important time, and then they eat shit on defense again in overtime. So. It was a defense that was like kind of good all season, but never one that you trusted and one you never had to trust because the offense scored 35 points a game, right? So when Gary Anderson misses a field goal, the least that defense could do is hold serve to end the game. So I don't ever blame that game on Gary. I blame it on I blame it on Denny. I blame it on a pretty shoddy defense, at least in the secondary. And I blame it on my ex-girlfriend who was watching the game with me at the time and did not understand why this game was important.
What?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's partially on you there. The pie chart of blame, not
it's
like
she's an
bad
ex-girlfriend.
communication before.
Very long. Yeah. Long ago. I looked at her once and she's divorced now. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
She didn't get that. Yeah. It's like, if you don't get sports, you're out.
No, it wasn't that like, oh, you don't know the man code. It was just like, she wasn't a very good girlfriend. I wasn't a very good boyfriend either. I'm a good husband, but I was not a good boyfriend.
So you bring up something that I think is incredibly important. I actually think that there should be some type of a book explainer that if you are a true Vikings fan, two of the most devastating defeats the last 30-ish years, the Falcons loss and the Saints loss. I feel like they're always encapsulated by two things. Gary missed, which if you just listen to it now, you think that the game was tied and like he missed.
Or they were losing by 2 and the game ended.
Like it's been sort of revisioned. It's been revised to like a Blair Walsh caliber miss. Not a chance. None.
But so has the Favre pick against the Saints. because it was devastating. But if you go back and write the book of that loss, the fumbles, the absolute incredible, and then the fact that they were in a position near the end of that game to go ahead on a Ryan Longwell field goal. They call a timeout, 12 men in the huddle, okay? So, like, the Favre thing had a huge, like, there was a lot of lead up to that. But it feels like we always land on just two things, and it's like, folks, there was so many more in both of those games. There was so much more than just two things.
Yeah, and Chile he was going to settle for a field goal that, I don't know, was it going to be like 50 yards, something like that, 55 yards.
Before the penalty, it was going to be like a 52. Yeah, it was on the edge of Longwell's range.
Yeah. So what are you doing, asshole? Like get closer. You have a good offense. You have Adrian Pearson. You have Brett Favre. Like get a little bit closer. And it was only until that the play where Favre throws the pick that Chile's like, oh yeah, maybe we should get a little bit closer for the field goal. Like, you moron. Like, come on. Like, just try hard. Like, don't do the other team a favor by settling for a 9,000-yard field goal. Get a little bit closer. Don't be shy.
Man, it's in both those games too, 98, 2009. Both games went from, and 98 was like a season of inevitability. But even as they're leading by 7 and they're lining up for a 10-yard or a 38-yard field goal to go up by 10 points, the feeling of inevitability of finally this is clearly winning the game and then going to win the Super Bowl. And then as the Vikings marched past the 50-yard line with a minute to go in New Orleans, it's like that minute that you let your guard down finally as a Vikings fan. And sometimes it takes, like the 2009 season, it kind of took all year because your guard was still up from 1998. Yeah. But as they crossed the 50-yard line, I remember sitting there thinking, oh, my guard is fully down now. Okay. It took all year, but yeah, this is a badass football team. Hurt again. And then bam, just a sucker punch across the side of it.
I can't be hurt. Favre is too strong. Favre, the power of Favre is too strong. I cannot be hurt. Oh, wow.
Well, that was the other thing, because I hated Favre all the way through. And when we signed him, I was like, okay, well, I mean, I will cheer for him to do good things, but I cheered for him like an abusive parent. I was like, you better get a first down, dick, or I'm going to come there and tear your head off. Like, I didn't like him. I was using him. And so, like, I didn't like having to count on him because he was old and busted and, like, you know, wiggling his penis at people and stuff like that. So, like, you know, I didn't particularly trust him that year. And when he threw the pick, everyone sort of blamed him for the pick. But by then, Chile had screwed so many other things up that it was like, I was already annoyed before the pick happened because of the way Chile was managing that game.
Yeah.
And I was annoyed in 98 because the offense was clearly not itself. Like, it was not like they were a little shook, and I knew we didn't have the defense to sort of compensate for that.
If you recall too, I think the thing that changed the 98 game the absolute most, and I think why Denny took the knee at the end of the fourth quarter was, if you guys recall, Todd Stussy hadn't been beat all season long at left tackle, and a guy by the name of Chuck Smith. So the Vikings, it's near the end of the first half. Chuck Smith beats Stussy and he strips Cunningham of the football, and the Falcons get the ball. That changed that entire game, because up until then, it was a celebration. It literally was like, we are going to Miami. Nothing's going to stop us. The Falcons aren't that good.
Chris Carter was saying it before the game.
And everyone's
like, all my life, I wanted to be a champion, and I'm going to be a champion.
Yeah. Also, isn't it wild what you just said? Because we think back at, like, this one of the craziest upsets in NFL history, this garbage. The Falcons were 14-2.
Chris Chandler's a quarterback, though.
Yeah, but Randall Cunningham was like a construction worker 6 months before.
He was great before that. Then he went in the crapper.
Yeah, and then they got dog walked by the Broncos in the Super Bowl, and everyone kind of knew it. And I think I was annoyed that I was deprived of a good Super Bowl, much less one that had my home team in it, because I knew that game would suck ass. And guess what? It sucked ass. It really sucked.
So, Drew, are you completely against then Aaron Rodgers finishing the story that Brett Favre wasn't able to finish if you were able to come to purple?
So I had sort of like a Rodgers derangement syndrome like last week because the Athletic would not stop humping that chicken, like trying to make it happen. It was so clear it was Rodgers being like, like, well, Minnesota might be a fine place for me. I'll have to, I'll have to just I'll have to make some time with my decision. Like, like he's Bron James, like circa the early 2000s. Like, it's like you're busted. You suck. Everyone hates you. And I know how revered he is still within the league. Like other players and other coaches are still, it's still a game recognized game with him. But he sucks. And I didn't want there to be any question as to whether or not the kid would be the starter. Because if Rodgers came here, well, even if they said he's QB2, I don't believe that Rodgers would tolerate that. And I don't believe the media would tolerate that. They would just keep waiting and be like, when's Rodgers going to start? When's coming out? And if you watched him last year, he was awful. He was one of the worst quarterbacks in football last year, and the metrics say so, right? So I didn't want any of that. And I wanted to just sign some slob like Carson Wentz or something like that. So I didn't have to deal with it again. But people won't stop humping it. And I was irritated about that until I I popped a gummy and I was like, okay, Kevin O'Connell's buds with Rodgers and he reveres Rodgers. And so he's going to take the phone call and all that stuff. And they're going to leave their options open because they need a backup and they want to get to April. Like they're 99.9% sure the kid can do it, but they want to get to April and see him on the field just to double, triple, make sure. Right. So it makes sense for them to just keep their options open or whatever. And so I've been more irritated at the discourse, because Mike Silver's a Cal guy and he's humping for Rodgers, and Diane Rossini is not particularly reliable in a lot of her reports. And it just felt very much like puppetry, even if we know now that they had conversations inside TCO about it. But when you say that, they had serious conversations, what does serious mean? Like, I don't know what that means. It means like, okay, well, let's watch some tape. Let's see how it goes. At the end of that serious conversation, they could have been like, oh, yeah, he's busted. He sucks. Like, no, we don't want this jackass.
But in both cases, and if you're a Vikings fan, this should sort of piss you off because it's different regimes as well, Drew. In both cases, it was the ex-Packer quarterback attempting to manipulate his way here. Now, in the case of Favre, guess what? Come on in, man. Come on in. We got Sage Rosenfels, Tavares Jackson. Hell yeah, we'll take you. But I mean, this was clearly Rodgers and his camp trying to manipulate his way here, which is like, they don't need you, man. Like, just move on. If you want to go play for the Steelers. The Steelers aren't a dumpster fire. They're not the Vikings, but they got some talent. But his level of clearly trying to use his relationship, for instance, with O'Connell and then with Silver and basically seeing a ready-made product here. That's what drove me crazy, because it's like, the one thing is Favre's timing was great. Favre, the Vikings were in desperate need. And I mean, Favre called him and said at the end of July 2009, I'm done playing, so he could basically avoid Mankato. Like, he used them beyond belief. But guess what? Until the Saints game, it worked. Yeah, in the case of Rodgers, it's like, get out of here, man. No, see ya. Bye.
Yeah, we're too good for you. Also, the other thing is, I remember you were talking about how, like, the Wills might want to do it to troll the Packers. But if we signed Rodgers, there's no Packers fan who would be like, wow, don't I feel owned? They'd be laughing their asses off. They'd be like,
I do agree with that, yeah.
Have fun with that, dick.
Because, to that point, Packers fans felt much more of a connection to Brett Favre, and still do. Like, he was always, he's from, like, the southeastern part of the country, but he always felt like a guy from, like, Fond du Lac or something.
Yeah.
And
Rodgers welfare checks, they don't care. They're like, right. Wow. Just
yeah, exactly. And Rodgers has always been this, he's California, he's sort of weird, and he lives here, and he's been like a 15-year mercenary for Packer fans. But yeah, the minute he started getting just kind of wishy-washy on whether he wanted to play there, like, they sided with the organization. Okay, third one here. We're going to keep the tour going here.
Okay.
What is your biggest Vikings vent right now, Drew Magary?
Oh, okay. So I was thinking about this, and then I remembered what it was. It was, okay. No, wait. No, I don't remember what it was. Wait, I wrote it down on my phone. I'm gonna check.
Oh, this is great. He's got the phone notes here.
Okay.
We taught Judd how to use the phone notes for Judd's camp notes.
For Judd's camp notes, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Big
All right. So, and every time I see one of our quarterbacks, this is true under O'Connell too. quarterbacks, like he looks at the defense, reads the defense, and then goes into an audible that lasts like as long as Peyton Manning's post-playing career, right? And I'm like, okay, all right. He's thinking of something cool. And then it's a run for like 2 yards. Like always. It's always a run. And it's always like I see defenders creeping up in the box and it's like, oh, we're audibling to a pass. No, we're not. Nope. It's like CJ Ham up the gut for like half a yard. And I'm like, look, if you're gonna do audibles, like do it to something cool. That's all I ask.
Like a flea flicker. I want to see a flea flicker once in a while.
Like we had no jet sweeps last year either because the interior line sucked and they would have gotten accosted like, right behind Garrett Bradbury 5 seconds later. And we didn't have any middle screens either, which would have been a good idea given that the middle was a sieve. So you may as well let them come anyway and throw over them. But my biggest thing is I want cooler stuff after an audible. And I don't want you running after a turnover either. I want a bomb. I don't ever want to see you do a freaking outside zone play after you've gotten an interception or a fumble recovery. You got to go for the throat. Even if you overthrow someone by like 50 yards, you want to send a message.
It does. Yeah. You're intimidating them.
That's right.
You've hit on, I've always been curious about this too. Like, so you've got your play call at the line of scrimmage, and oftentimes you have like a check to this other thing if you get a certain look and you call them both in the huddle.
Right.
But then, okay, they see something. Okay, here's the thing that we see. Now let's check it to this and spend 10 seconds. It must be the perfect look to check it to the thing that wasn't called.
Right.
And then it's like a 3-yard loss or just some crazy blown up play.
I just don't like
totally.
Like, my read is always, oh, okay, they're filling the box, so you're audibling to a pass, or they're going out of the box. We're audibling to some kick-ass run, and it's never those things. Like,
but don't they also know? Oh, they're checking because of what we're showing. So now let's change what we're doing on defense because now they're checking.
Yeah, the Madden player in me gets very pissed because it's like, okay, they got 9 men in the box, like, and then like it's like, oh well, they're just faking us into thinking that they're defending the run, but they're good. They're gonna all run backwards after the snap. No, they're not. They're good. They're gonna ruin your shit.
But you just hit on. I think my biggest surprise in O'Connell's tenure here is this: the lack of creativity on plays like that. And I don't know with the improvement, hopefully, of the interior line, it's going to change. But it seems like all of his colleagues, right, like the McVays and Shanahan's and McDaniel, you see different like philosophies, ideas, and like, oh, that play looks really cool. And then you start to wait for like, okay, find a way to use, I don't know, Jefferson in some type of unique package. And they've tried it a few times, and Jefferson throws these like cross-field passes. It's like, what the hell was that? It should have been picked off.
Oh, yeah.
I want to see some creativity.
He's a lousy trick play caller, and I don't need that. I don't need gadgetry because I'm still I'm old enough where I remembered that trick plays were basically what like the Kozar Browns would do because they couldn't actually pass the ball. Like you would have like it's sort of like a last resort for offensively challenged teams. And if you're good on offense, you don't really need them, right? And the Vikings have been good on offense in O'Connell's time here. So I'm not jonesing for like a decent flea flicker, but like, yes, a bit more creativity in the basic stuff I would enjoy.
A flea flicker, though, executed is one of the greatest art forms of football, Drew.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I would like to see it once in a while.
Yeah. I mean, when Randy Moss was on the team, every flea flicker was like,
it's gonna work. Here we go. What would be the downside of one flea flicker per game? You're gonna run like 60 plays. If one in every 60 plays was just a well-placed flea flicker,
yeah,
it's like twice a season. Maybe let's expand the flea flicker catalog.
Are you ever like the flea flicker that actually turns out to be a screen pass, and you're like, oh come on,
yeah,
you're not. No, give me the goods.
That sucks.
Yeah. Throw it to the friggin' popcorn stand. Let's go.
It's like the backup tight end. Oh, here we go. It's like a tunnel screen.
It's a check down. What are we doing? That's not a flea flicker.
But like in your vent there, you touched on like the mistrust of the Garrett Bradburys and the Ed Ingrams. It is pretty crazy. Right after they got bounced from the playoffs, and Kevin O'Connell gets up at the podium, and he's usually a take a deep breath, I'm not going to throw anyone directly under the bus guy.
Yeah.
And it's the one time where he didn't say anyone's name, but he said, yeah, the interior of the offensive line just like doesn't match up against some of these teams. And then 2 months later, boom, 40% of those guys just gone, cut, or trade. The fact that they got something for Ingram in a trade is kind of wild.
Yeah, I'm still floored by that. Like the Texans had me fooled for 1 year and 1 year only. And that's never going to happen again. I will never be. Because then they signed Cam Robinson too.
Yeah, it's super weird.
Brutal.
But that this might, I don't want to jinx anything, but this is probably the most we've trusted a Vikings offensive line on paper in like 15 years. Since
it's the
Steve
most
Hutchinson.
I've trusted the Vikings in my lifetime, like entirely.
Wow.
I mean that. That's my other hottest
Really?
take. My hottest take. I'm sorry. I've two.
Dude,
my
just
cup
sling the hottest takes as many as
Come on,
you
say
want.
it. Yeah.
I think that O'Connell is already the best Vikings coach of my lifetime. And I'm not counting Bud Grant because Bud Grant is before my time, but he's clearly a better manager of people than anyone since Denny. Denny was a mayor. Like that was Denny's main skill. He was a mayor. He was weird as shit, but he was good at the basic management of a team. But O'Connell does that possibly even better. He's obviously much better at choosing assistants. He doesn't have a Richard Solomon like wandering around headquarters with people like, what does that guy do? Like, who is that guy? That's so weird. Like, it's creeping me out. Like he doesn't have any of those.
Solid.
He doesn't have a lot of baggage. So he's someone I trust him more. I trust him implicitly more than I have trusted any Vikings coach. And I think that other fans feel likewise, even if they don't want to, blaspheme, the name of Denny or Zimmer, because we have to say, okay, Zimmer was a good coach, even though he was a total prick.
Denny was, so to go back, Denny, I think, was a really, really sharp offensive mind. And I've heard guys talk about, in fact, Rich Gannon, Drew, is outspoken about how uncommunicative he could be, and like the fact that, and he did get traded, so he has an axe to grind. But I do think that you're right. I do think O'Connell mixes the blend of like personnel / play calling with the fact that he actually is good with the players. And the most important thing too is post the one terrible year of Ed Donatel as the DC, he's also empowered Flores to basically run the defense, which has worked out spectacularly. So, yeah, I think O'Connell as a whole probably has more going for him overall than Denny did, and certainly Zim did, because Zim was a 100% a shelf life guy. Like it was going to end. You just didn't know when, and it started to end the day that they signed Kirk. And
he hated offense. Like he was Buddy Ryan. Like he hated like he wanted to kill his own quarterback in practice. Like
well, go back to the press conference after they signed Cousins and look at the pictures. He looks like he is like he's at the doctor.
Yeah, he's got the fart face.
Yeah, he looks miserable.
Everyone gather in, hold the jersey together, and Zim's just
like this is fun.
He's like, I hate you, Kirk Cousins. I hate you, and you just got the bag from my team.
With every
it's like when we try to get our kids to smile for a Christmas card photo, like it's just not happening.
No. Okay, we're gonna keep the tour going here in a minute, but first, Judd, why don't you tell Drew and the audience about your friends at MSP Plumbing, Heating, and Air here? Huh?
Absolutely. Well, in fact, guess what? Sports Dad has another story from my friends at MSP. So on Friday, I started to have some problems. The furnace, it wasn't kicking on. And I'm like, what's wrong? So I called them, and guess what? Joe shows up Saturday early and fixes the problem. It was some type of, I don't know, panel. I can't even recall. And this is why I need a guy. This is why Joe, who loves our show.
It was some type of panel.
It was a panel. Rattling. It was some type of thing. No, it wasn't rattling. It just quit. It quit working. And Joe said, you know what? Here is the problem. Joe went and got the parts. Joe fixed it. And so on what was a cold day, my furnace was humming along, working perfect, because that is what you are going to get with MSP. Everybody needs a guy and someone that they can trust, and MSP is that for you. So give them a call, 651-615-4292, or check out their website, callmsp.com. Call msp.com. Good people taking care of you and your house. Nothing more important. Call msp.com.
And their airport. Amazing. What can't they do?
You know, I saw one of those the vans, right? The MSP plumbing vans. I was like behind one on 394 last week, and I'm like trying to pull around the side, like waving, like, you know, Purple Daily, and he's like, "What are you doing? Are you having a seizure on the freeway?" No,
you're our sponsor. Like rolling down the window,
hawking at him. He's like, "Who's this crazy man?"
Oh man. Park Dental, by the way, speaking of good people helping out here, good people helping to clean your teeth. So I was wandering around in the dental wilderness up until last August. My old dentist had hung up the teeth cleaning gun. I don't know. He retired, and he
quit on you.
He quit, or he lied to me, and he's still practicing, but just didn't want me around anymore. But either way, Park Dental picked me up as a free agent. I've had 2 awesome cleanings. Just great reviews all over the internet, too. And there's a good chance, over 50 years of Park Dental experience around the Twin Cities in western Wisconsin, there's a good chance that there is a Park Dental location conveniently within a few minutes of wherever you live or work in the metro area. So check them out. Schedule your checkup at parkdental.com. And a shout out to Federated Insurance, too. Talk about the offensive line. Federated is like having a great offensive line, protecting your business. And that's what you need as a business owner. You want to stay focused on growing your business and doing all the things that you love doing. And Federated comes in and they put a plan together to stay focused on safety, preventing claims, and risk management so that you can look out and grow your business out on the horizon. So Federated, find out about their 120-year existence in Minnesota, but also working with all 50 states, companies in all 50 states at federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.
Football.
Okay. Back to our guy, Drew Magary here from Defector. The fourth of 5 questions here as we tour you around the Purple Daily segments of glory. Give us your best write that down prediction. It must be quantifiable in some way. We will put this in the official write that down record book.
Oh, God. Okay. Wait. I got to make sure.
Could be anything. It could be J.J. McCarthy related. It could be about the first Vikings Super Bowl championship.
Okay, let's just go straight up. The kid will be the best Vikings quarterback of my lifetime.
Okay.
There you go.
J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah. I'll give you a little bit of breaking news here. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I bought a J.J. McCarthy jersey. Like, I didn't buy it right after the draft because I was still a little skeptical. Like, I wasn't quite sure.
Are you wearing it right now?
No, I'm wearing an Addison jersey because Judd and I were going to fight about Addison, but we can do that.
I thought that was a Blair Walsh jersey there.
No, so I bought the Addison. Oh, by the way, I don't buy them from Fanatics because Fanatics sucks. Like, it's all their jerseys are made out of used toilet paper, and so I bought these from DH Gate. They're like $15, and they take like 2 months to ship to you because they're from China by way of Honduras or something like that. But whatever, they're better than the NFL shop crap, right? So I bought an Addison jersey after the draft because I knew he'd be good, and I know he's still good. And then I bought a Turner one because I didn't expect us to draft Turner. So when we did, and because he had fallen so far, he was right in that sort of like Moss, Dwayne Rudd, like where someone falls and we get someone pretty good. Like he had that feeling to him, and I still think he'll be very good. But the kid I was holding out on, and then last week when the team said no, like 99.9% no to Rodgers, more importantly said, oh, the kid's going to be QB1. I was like, okay, knowing what I know from the last offseason and from the preseason and training camp, and particularly that 6-week stretch between minicamp and training camp where the kid stayed in Minnesota to get better, and then he came back and all the beat writers were like, oh my God. And the fact that O'Connell, who is extremely picky about quarterbacks, even all of them, like even the third one, like he cares, like Brett Rippon's on the roster for a reason, even though he sucks. Like Kevin O'Connell's like, yeah, we want the Brett Rippon. So the fact that he had the endorsement of O'Connell And the fact that I saw him look like the real deal in that Raiders game, which is like such a pathetic sample size, but whatever. I'm a fan. I'm entitled
He
to be
made
stupid.
2 awesome throws in that Raiders preseason game against the second, third string vanilla based defense of one of the worst teams in the NFL. And we're like, yes, we saw the glimpse that's going to lead us for the next 10 years.
I saw the flash. So first of all, he's not allowed to get injured again. If he gets injured again, I'll kill him. But then I was like, okay, he is now jersey worthy. And so whenever the package arrives, could arrive next week, could arrive 2028. Who's to say? But I'm very excited to get I also got an Ivan Pace jersey because why not? Right?
It's a cool number to have. It's a number 0, you know?
And they're $15.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a deal.
And Pace is a heat-seeking missile. So like even if he gets relegated to like third down duty, you know, like in later years or something like that, I don't care. Like he's a little comet blasting through. He's fun.
Speaking of this, it just crystallized to me in you talking about the McCarthy game. Do you guys realize that the last 2 like preseason QB highs from games at US Bank Stadium are Teddy and McCarthy? Teddy against the Chargers that day, right before he broke his leg, right before his leg. That was, if you guys recall, it's like, oh my God, Teddy looks up phenomenal. And it was the first game ever played in the stadium. And we're all like, okay, this is it. This is the season now. Bang. McCarthy. Oh, holy cow. He's going to be taking first team reps. He might challenge and he might have Sam Darnold for the starting job. He's got, and then O'Connell the Monday after is like, he's got a little problem with his knee. We'll see how it is, or his leg. And the next thing you know, he's done for the season.
Yeah,
that's
I hate
the pain of being a Vikings fan.
The seemingly innocuous training camp injury that turns out to be, oops, he's out for the season, like with Daniil
Hunter.
Oh, the worst.
He slept a little wrong. He might be back this afternoon. We'll see.
Yeah,
I got so much crap when I said, because O'Connell at the podium that Monday seemed a little despondent, and I'm like, this is not good. And I got so much crap because I said, oh, this doesn't look good. And the fans were like, it's a minor thing. O'Connell said it's a minor thing. It's like, no, Drew, you're exactly right. The seemingly, it's just a small thing, inevitably turns out to be a freaking disaster.
Yeah, tis but a scratch, and then it's, the arm's off. That's no fun. By the way, the other thing about that preseason performance from McCarthy, the reason that I bought into it was because the first thing he did was throw a pick, and the pick sucked, and he just shrugged it right off and went right ahead to being a stud. And that is the sort of quarterback I've been dying for. And I think it's the sort of quarterback that O'Connell's been waiting for, because O'Connell, I think, is absolutely sick to death of having quarterbacks whose confidence he constantly has to pump up.
Yeah.
He doesn't want any more quarterbacks who remind him of himself. He wants a god back there. And I think he knew it last preseason. That's why he was so despondent about the knee thing. He's like, shit, I got this guy. I got exactly what I wanted. And now it's all ruined. And now I got to spend the entire year making Sam Darnold feel good about himself after I had to spend 2 years making Kirk Cousins feel good about himself. You want the confidence already installed before you buy the car. That's all there is to it.
This is good life and dating advice as well, guys. Okay. Just, bring that confidence. By the way, to quantify that prediction, I'm going to say 2 things. Either one, McCarthy will have to have the best passer rating of any Vikings quarterback that started, let's say, 50 games, or he becomes the starting quarterback for the first Vikings Super Bowl champion. Was that fair? I think either one of those would make him. That would validate your prediction of best quarterback, Vikings quarterback.
You know what? Let's just go all the way with it. He will win a Super Bowl for the Vikings. Let's make it that. Let's make that the take. Because otherwise, like, podcasting won't exist in like 15 years. Like, whenever you have to like render a final verdict on it, like, we'll be like, I don't know, we'll all be living on like Venus. I don't know. But like, point being, I don't want you to have to like keep a spreadsheet, for a decade and change just to make sure.
I got news for you. The write that
prepared.
down prediction spreadsheet just turned 10 years old, I believe.
Wow!
Last January.
Congratulations.
So it's even like it's like misformatted now too, because it always asks me like 70% of your workbook is formatted the wrong way. I'm like, if I click a button and it nukes the whole spreadsheet, then we've lost 10 years of prediction history.
You should buy the spreadsheet sheet cake that you got from Quick Trip.
That's
you
right.
should be like,
Oh,
hey,
that's a good idea.
And like,
That's right.
and like have an office birthday party, like find the saddest conference room you can get, and get off-brand diet colas and and bags of popcorn that are unflavored that nobody's going to eat, and then put out the cake, and then you can have like, oh, happy birthday spreadsheet.
Put the spreadsheet up on the
You're the
whatever
best.
the projector.
Your cells are so full and so good.
You've mentioned several random Vikings already throughout this episode. I think Alfred Anderson, Rick Fenny have been brought up here. But the last question for you is, we've put it on hiatus, but Random Viking of the Week has been one of our longtime segments on this show. So who is your favorite random Viking in your life watching this team?
Ooh, all right. Al Noga. Al Noga was my favorite.
Yes.
Because that was a kick-ass line, because it had Millard, had Dolman, but Al Noga and Nico Noga. Nico Noga doesn't really get much love, but Al Noga kicked ass for a cup of coffee there. And I was like, don't sleep on that Al Noga. I was 13, as I was like, don't sleep on that Al Noga. I had the puberty voice going on, but I remember I was quite fond of that. My favorite Viking of all time, by the way, is Pat Williams. So,
oh God,
awesome dude.
And I'm so bereft that we have not really replaced him with a big fat guy since then. I want another. I want like a Haloti Nada type. That's always. I know they're sort of out of fashion, but that's something I could go for another Jerry Ball sitting in there.
Jerry, I loved him too. Those fat guys, Ted Washingtons, those old
Sam Adams.
You would just run into them. You would just run into them, and they would just eat you up. That was it. You were done.
The sumo suit defensive tackler.
Love him. Love him.
Yeah. Yeah. Al Noga, by the way, one of the Vikings Tecmo Super Bowl for those Nintendo players back in the early 90s. You mentioned Chris Dolman, you had Henry Thomas, Al Noga on that
Thomas
line.
rocked.
Great video game defensive line in the early 90s.
Yeah, I believe that.
So
is that one where could I line up like in Madden, you can control the defensive end before the snap, and you just line them up 10 yards away, outside of the tight end, so you have a clear path to go destroy the quarterback. That was always, if I could do that in Tecmo Bowl, I would.
The move in Tecmo Bowl was to be the nose tackle, and then as the ball snapped, you just go down over and you blow right by Garrett Bradbury style. You just blow right by the center, and and then if you play a team that runs a flea flicker. Because they only have 8 plays. If you match if you pick the play they're gonna run, you get a blitz with it. Yeah, and it nukes the whole thing.
Yeah, that rocks. And I feel bad for all the Garrett Bradbury slayers. Such a nice guy, but he
is
was
a nice
Kirk
guy,
Cousins of centers. So
a lot of guys are nice guys, Drew. A lot of guys are nice guys. You know what? That doesn't make them good football players necessarily.
You know what? That's right. That's right. Nice guys finish last.
Kirk Cousins of centers.
Yeah.
I don't know how we've never also coined that. That is brilliant. He is the Kirk Cousins of centers.
That's why you had me on, baby.
That's right. Drew Magary, everyone from Defector. Any other? Yeah, Judd, go ahead.
Okay, let's debate the guy whose jersey you have on right now. You sent me a note initially that you think that you basically said that you have been yelling at the podcast anytime that we have brought up the thought of trading Jordan, which is a group I led at one point in time. So, what's the defense of Jordan from you?
Okay, so it was one of the Blueprint episodes, and you were.
Yeah.
I know the Blueprint episodes. You're workshopping, right? You're workshopping the roster, so it's it's not necessarily ideas you agree with, but it's okay, try this. But I think you, Judd, had a personal stake in trading away Addison, and which I get because he pulled a gentleman's Henry Ruggs, 2 off seasons in a row, which is bad, right? However, I think he is a special talent. And if you've been a Vikings fan long enough, you've been treated to enough special wide receivers. You know it when you see it, right? His nose for the ball is uncommon, and he is I don't think that we have scratched the surface of his potential yet, particularly because of the quarterback situation. I think that, and because of injuries, right? If he's suspended for 3 games to start next year, well, he missed 3 games and changed to start last year. Who cares? Whatever. You can patch over that with whatever other slob you bring in, or Rondale Moore or whatever, or Naylor. You can make do. But to have Addison on the roster with Jefferson for the next 5-10 years is lethal. It's like, it's a really, many teams would be very, very grateful to have that sort of combination. And I don't think you can just replace Addison by saying, okay, well, we'll get Matthew Golden in the draft. There's never a guarantee with these guys. Like Quentin Johnson was only good last year, and he's still Quentin Johnson. He still kind of sucks. And like Mike Williams was another one who went in the first round to the Chargers. He blows. Like, you are never, ever guaranteed. Once you give away a talent like that, you're never guaranteed to recoup it in an easy way. So I would prefer, my take is, and this sounds really stupid, but you will understand what I'm saying. I will only be in favor of getting rid of Addison if the team gets rid of Addison. Does that make sense? Like, in other words, they know that they can't fix whatever,
or trust him.
That he's just an unreliable asshat and they have to get rid of him. So it's like, okay, fine. But they haven't done that. And they don't seem inclined to, which says to me that they think, first of all, have you ever heard anyone complain about his practice comportment or his on-field comportment? Like, I know his dad's some dick who's an idiot on Instagram, but whatever.
The free three hashtag.
Yeah.
Every player's parents is an idiot. Like, but I haven't really heard. There's never been an issue with his work. The work that he's done has been unimpeachable, and I think that is incredibly valuable to me, because if you remember Moss was a huge pain in the ass when he was here. Well worth it, but like, no one was all that sad to see him go when he got traded to Oakland, because he was such a pain in the ass, and also because, and I know this has been, we have a lot more knowledge of why Moss would rope-a-dope on the field back then, but there were times where he would take plays off, right? Jordan Addison never does that. And Jordan Addison is a craftsman. He cares very much about his route running, cares a lot about his blocking because he's undersized. He wants to get better at that. He just strikes me as someone who, in terms of both his talent and his approach, is an excellent fit. Fits the big word now in Vikings land, but I completely believe in it. And I love having him on the team. And if they got rid of him, I have a feeling, particularly if they got rid of him for anything less than like a first or something like. If you're just talking about like a third round pick, no, I'm sorry. He's valuable. And if you're afraid to pay him, look, why'd you clear all that cap room? You cleared your cap room so you can pay your studs. And that guy is going to be a stud. And I think with the kid throwing him the ball, that will become even more manifest.
I would feel better about it if we could get him like an Uber endorsement, like an Uber partnership.
That's the other thing.
Just stay off the freeway,
like
entrance ramps.
Give him a driver. Wow. or tell him to hire a driver. You're rich. Like, hire a driver so you don't have to drive.
They probably have, though. That's the problem. Is the guys that get behind the wheel who are that rich, it never makes any sense.
Yeah.
So the first point is, on the blueprints, though, we are trying to put ourselves in the Viking shoes, right? So like, part of what I was saying was, if the Viking, like, if you know that he got in trouble, not drunk 3 years ago now, for going like 95 or 110 here in town, fell asleep on the 405 last year, allegedly while intoxicated. If you're the team and you know that this is going down a path, that was my first thought of why I might look to trade him for a team that needs draft capital. But you're right, I'm not going to give him away. The other thing is, I don't know if he stays here, because he could go somewhere and probably be the top guy. So my point about his eventuality here is not the Vikings saying no, as much as it's the Addison camp saying, go to team X, Y, and Z, and you are the guy. Playing here is great, but Jefferson will always be, as long as he is here, the guy. So those are my two thoughts.
No, I think that's a good point. But then again, what wide receiver 2 doesn't want to be a wide receiver 1?
Right.
You pay him $25 million, he'll probably be like, okay,
I'm good.
I'll go for that.
If he gets to the very end of this thing, like he goes through the 5 years of the full first round contract, by the time, because I think we're going to have new NFL TV deals in place by then. I mean, he might literally be looking at $45 to $50 million a year, which sounds crazy now. But and then the Vikings have to decide. By then, though, they'll have Jefferson on a wild discounted contract.
Right.
It's funny how fast those change. A year later, and now it's like Jamar Chase is making 40-some million.
Always pay him early. Always pay him early.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
zero doubt. Like I was like, can we extend McCarthy now? Is that like in the CBA? You can't do that.
No.
I love baseball teams try to trick like minor league. Well, the Twins did it with Randy Dobnak, and he's just mostly just buying catering for minor leaguers now.
He tricked them.
He's off the 40-man, but yeah. Drew Magary, everyone, notable author, co-founder of Defector, and you can find it. Plug anything else you want, by the way.
Oh, I have my own podcast because I'm a white person, so that's just sort of mandatory with us. The Defector podcast is The Distraction. David Roth and I host that every week. And also, I write for SF Gate, and I write books, and they're in like bookstores and stuff. You can find those.
Love it, man.
Hey,
thanks
bookstores.
for.
I love bookstores.
Please, it was so much fun. I was so excited to come on. So if you ever want me on again, I'm happy to do it.
We'd love to. We'd love to. In our journey to be better about having awesome guests on here, we appreciate you.
Yeah, no sucky guests, only cool guests like me.
Yeah, with Rick Fenny references. So, all right, dudes, we'll hit you with an NFL Takes edition of Purple Daily 2, where I know the Ryan Tannehill stuff, which we just did this for an hour. Didn't even mention Ryan Tannehill might wind up being the Vikings backup quarterback.
Oh,
so we'll talk about
they brought
that.
him into the building, right?
They had a conversation with him. I don't know if he actually stepped foot inside
probably zoomed.
TCO, but he hasn't played in 2 years. Hasn't played well in 3.
Wentz came here, right?
Well, Wentz was spotted by multiple people at MSP Airport, but also could have just been connecting to one of the Dakotas or something to visit family.
No one was like tracking his plane on Twitter, like, where will Carson Wentz land?
Wentz Tracker 2025. Amazing. All right, you guys, Purple Daily, where we just want the Vikings to win a damn Super Bowl before we die.